Well, here's this mint to make my review this like a world of pure imagination. Why I'm singing, no real reason at all, just to make lyrics up as I go along. No, seriously, this movie is so edible, this mint is so edible, my return to YouTube is completely edible.
The filming Daniel.
Hey guys, it's Daniel here, and welcome back to a new year of the Filming Daniel. I know, I apologise I didn't get any reviews out in January, but I am finally here now. I've just been very busy, but I really wanted to get a review out, and it really sucks that I have to be so busy all the time because I want to make videos. So now that I'm finally filming a video right here and now, I can finally get my usual YouTube programming out as best as I can. So, what film have I decided to review for my first review of 2024 and my first review for Series 7 of my review show? Well, I thought I'd take a little edible treat and treat myself to review a new live-action adaptation of the original Roald Dahl story, or being the origin of the original Roald Dahl story. And that is the origin movie for our favourite eccentric candy maker, Wonka. And before I begin this review, I'd just like to give a huge shout out to two friends of mine that invited me to go see this movie the first time at the cinema, Amelia and Freya. Thank you for inviting me to go see that movie. It was such a treat to go see the movie with you and to hang out with friends, so thank you Amelia and Freya, and I hope we go see another movie together one day. So, thank you Amelia and Freya for inviting me. And with that said, let's get to the review of Wonka. So the premise of Wonka is pretty much what you think it's gonna be, but with more layers. But in terms of the basis of the story, it tells the origin story of the eccentric candy maker Willy Wonka, who really loves to make chocolate and really values his dream of becoming the best chocolate maker and best chocolate shop owner in the world. So he heads to this town where he is in conflict with the famous yet very mysterious chocolate cartel led by his new arch nemesis Slugworth. So with the help of a little girl named Noodle and a few other people that he meets at this really down place where they stay and pretty much slave for Mrs. Scrubbit, Willy must now try to fight his dream to become the best chocolate maker as possible, give his new friends the lives they've always wanted, and realising the message of sharing that edible treat. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people know the character of Willy Wonka, because pretty much everybody can think about the Willy Wonka character. And why wouldn't we? Because he's a very eccentric yet very intriguing character with a little bit of a dark side to him, but also just has that childhood energy that he has, especially in the original Gene Wilder movie. And before I discuss what I think of this one, I should probably discuss what I think of the other Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movies. The original by Gene Wilder, I watched that the day before I went to go see this one, but I thought it was still good. It was still as good as I remember. And I think that I could definitely see why this would be a childhood classic to a lot of people, because I definitely watched it before. That was in school, but I still think that it does have the same childish wonder that you expect. It has great imagination, great heart to it, and of course it's all being led by a very charismatic performance from Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka. And then we have the Tim Burton Willy Wonka movie, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, starring Johnny Depp. I can't remember much about what I thought about the movie. I mean, I watched it many years ago, and I thought it was good. I haven't watched it recently, but I thought it was good. I mean, it was a little, like, weirder compared to the Gene Wilder version, because, of course, the Gene Wilder version is the one thing you think of when you think of Willy Wonka. But Tim Burton's version, it had a great factory on the inside. The factory on the inside looked great, and while a lot of people can't stand Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka, I think he did a pretty good job as Willy Wonka. In fact, it's really hard to tell that that is Johnny Depp, so Johnny Depp is definitely a good actor, but I can see its problems. But I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't know how to feel about it now. So, now we are here for this origin movie for the Willy Wonka character. So, after watching the movie with my friends, and then after watching it a few more times, I've watched it 3 times by now, I have to say, oh my goodness, this movie was an absolute treat for me. It was a treat for everyone who definitely loved the movie, and I can feel the heartful nature that the actors, the creators, and the lovers of the original story of Willy Wonka put into telling his origin story on a big screen, because I love this movie. I loved it, and I cannot wait to talk about what I think of it. Where do I start? I'm so excited. Okay, let me try to remain calm. Let's talk about the characters first. All the characters and all the actors who portray them are so beneficial to the story, and each actor who plays them seem like they're really passionate about their characters. They study their characters, and you can clearly tell that they're having lots of fun in their roles. I am very impressed by Timothée Chalamet as a young Willy Wonka. I mean, the only time I've seen Timothée Chalamet besides this is in the film Little Women, which I also think is a fantastic movie. And this performance, I thought Timothée Chalamet was very convincing in this role, because he definitely takes a lot of inspiration from the previous Willy Wonkas while making it his own. Like the very charismatic performance of Gene Wilder, mixed in with a little bit of like the clothes he wears, had a little bit of inspiration to Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka, while still making this one his own, because he is his own character, and I love the way that Wonka was written in this movie, because the thing about Willy is that he's a very naive young man. He does want to achieve his dreams, but the problem is he can be a bit unsure when it comes to communication amongst people, because he can put a bit too much trust into people, because he wants to believe in the kindness of strangers, but it does lead him to a bit of trouble. But at the same time, his determination to feel the kindness in people does help out when he starts bonding with Noodle and wins the heart over of other people who try out his chocolate. I really love how passionate he is in chocolate, because he finds creative ways to make chocolate making come off as very amusing and very beneficial. Like, I definitely would like to try one of his chocolates, and I would like to definitely see the way that he makes chocolates, and the way he does it, fantastic. But he also has that side to him where he can be unsure about himself, he can have doubt about himself, and he learns throughout the movie that as long as he has the people that he shares his chocolate with and his dreams with, he is more beneficial than he might think. And I think that Timothée Chalamet did a fantastic job at giving Wonka his own character, taking inspiration from the previous Wonkas, and making this Willy Wonka come off as a very endearing and lovable protagonist. Noodle is a very interesting character. She starts off in the film as like a very down, not very upbeat, yet very curious girl, but she has been through a lot in her life, because she never knew her parents, and she's constantly being slaved by Mrs. Scrubbit, and honestly, I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. She does have a little bit of an angsty side to her, but it's not really angsty, she just has a little bit of comments to say. I mean, granted, a lot of the snaps that she makes at Willy can come off as amusing, especially when she tries to get Willy out of Mrs. Scrubbit's place, and she's like, this isn't gonna work. there's an orange-green man. Why did they ever think this would work? And I think the actress who portrays her did a fantastic job, as well as, again, giving her a very heartfelt performance that really made us feel sorry for what she's going through. And the bond between Willy and Noodle was fantastic. It definitely felt like a great friendship bond, but you can also tell that there is a little bit of like a big bro, little sister kind of bond that they have. But I guess it is telling the story of a friendship, and I think that their friendship was fantastic, and Timothy and the girl that plays Noodle work very well together. All the other characters that Willy Wonka meets in Scrubbit and Bleacher definitely did a fantastic job making them come off as very supportive friends. They help Wonka. They are a little bit suspicious about whether or not they can succeed with this, but as they go along, as Wonka shows them the true meaning of what it means to make chocolate, they found the passion that they've always wanted to find, and they think that Wonka's ways are definitely a good key to getting them out of their situation and to the lives that they wanted to go to or go back to because of what Scrubbit and Bleacher did. And speaking of Scrubbit and Bleacher, my god, these characters. We have Mrs. Scrubbit, played by Olivia Colman, and Bleacher, played by Tom Davis. Both of these actors are fantastic at making them come off as the most despicable, unlikable people imaginable, because god, these guys, what egocentric jerks. I mean, they treat the guests like slave just because they don't pay. They make them work for so long, and Mrs. Scrubbit even treats a little girl with such mistreatment as possible. And I think Olivia did a fantastic job because she definitely gets how to make a character come off as so monstrous. She's like the less powerful version of Miss Trudgebowl from Matilda. She definitely does a good job and just made me hate her character even more, but that's fantastic. But not only are these characters are very unlikable in the best way, but they can also be very funny too, because their little situation that they end up in makes for the film's hilarious moments. And since we're talking about those egocentric jerks, let's talk about the three members of the Chocolate Cartel: Slugworth, Ficklegrubber, and Prodnose. All of these characters are fantastic antagonists for Wonka to face. Ficklegrubber, I think he's the least memorable out of the three, but that doesn't really take anyway because he's still memorable. He has this running joke about possibly being pukey every time someone says the word poor, and that definitely adds to his selfish egotism. Prodnose is a hilarious comic relief bad guy sidekick. He makes for the film's most hilarious moments. His posh British accent really comes through as he hams up his delivery, and since we're talking about that, I think Little Britain's Matt Lucas did a fantastic job bringing this comic villain to life. And Slugworth, the main antagonist of all of this, talk about a scene-stealing main antagonist. Because, while definitely all the characters are memorable, he's definitely one of those characters. Because the actor, Patterson Joseph, you can clearly tell that he was having a blast filming his scenes for this movie. He hams up his egocentric and stuffy chocolate-selling man character, making him a perfect rival for Wonka, giving him his, like, little moments of hilariousness, and making him come off as kind of intimidating when he needs to. And I think that every moment he's on screen, he's a delight to watch. And there are just so many scenes where you have Slugworth, where he steals the entire movie as an antagonist. And of course we have the supporting cast, because all the other actors, whether it's the supporting cast or a little extra or even ensemble, do a fantastic job at either hamming up their delivery or they're doing a fantastic job adding the musical element to the film. But in my opinion, there were definitely three standout supporting characters that definitely elevated the comedy, but also a little bit of uniqueness. The first and most memorable one, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people know who it is because this is definitely a huge... I don't know if it was a controversy at first, and I'll discuss it when I mention it. The Oompa Loompa character, played by Hugh Grant. I thought that Hugh Grant was fantastic in the role. I think a lot of people were kind of iffy whether or not Hugh Grant is a good pick for an Oompa Loompa because, well, I think it's just like Hugh Grant, if it was like motion capture or makeup and all that stuff. I don't know if people thought that would fit an Oompa Loompa, I don't know. I never really watched the trailers before I saw this movie, and I never really knew about the controversy. I just went in expecting Hugh Grant to do a decent job as an Oompa Loompa, and I thought he was fantastic as the Oompa Loompa. He had a bit of like a posh attitude, he really like stood up to Wonka now and again, and his musical moments where he's singing the iconic Oompa Loompa song with new altered lyrics, I feel like he definitely is a scene stealer in terms of the supporting cast, along with the other two that I'm about to mention. And I think he totally owns the either motion capture or makeup that he's in. He totally owns the Oompa Loompa look that he's in. The second supporting character that I loved was Keegan-Michael Key as the Chief of Police. He also is fantastic in the comedy section because this guy is so hilarious. I mean, it's Keegan-Michael Key. He can come off as funny when he needs to, and I think he definitely stole a lot of the scenes because he has like a little bit of dilemma of working with the chocolate cartel, mainly because of his sweet tooth, so every time he does a good deed for the cartel, or good deed because he's not exactly doing good, he gets free chocolate. But he can be a bit like insecure as a chief of police because he can make a few mistakes as the chief of police, and he's not very like capable at being the chief of police because at first he starts off pretty naive, kind of adorable in a villainous kind of sense, but later on he does get a little bit corruptive with the more chocolate he consumes, and the way that he goes on throughout the movie, just fantastic, and Keegan did a fantastic job playing that role. And the third and final standout supporting character in the film for me, and the actor, of course, goes to my man, Rowan Atkinson. Wow. Talk about a great changer-upper. I mean, when I say changer-upper, usually I would see Rowan Atkinson in these main roles where he's always stealing the show. I haven't seen Man vs. Bee, and I've only rarely watched 1 or 2 episodes of Blackadder, but I know him best for, well, the iconic Mr. Bean character. And he plays Father Julius, a priest that is like the head of like the cathedral that is hiding the secrets of the chocolate cartel. And he was so surprising, and I'd say he's kind of a changer, but for 2 major reasons. One, I don't think, if they were to pick any other character that would play the priest, I still think they would be pretty good, but not to the same level that Atkinson brings to it, because he brings that elastic energy that he's known for his Mr. Bean role, and has, again, that pretty much smugness and, you know, grin to him, but his facial expressions and his movements definitely gave this priest his own character and personality. And secondly, Father Julius's screen time is only made up a total of just 2 scenes. Just 2. One which is like, what, 10 seconds, and another one in the 3rd act that's even bigger, and he gets a bigger role in the 3rd act. But in those 2 scenes, he was definitely one of the most, like, intriguing characters, and one of the most scene-stealing characters that I'm very impressed with how Rowan Atkinson managed to make the supporting character his own, with only like a little bit of screen time in which he manages to still steal all of the scenes that he's in, and I cannot wait to see him in more roles. I think that this guy, wow, Rowan Atkinson, what a legend. Okay, so I spent a lot of time talking about the characters, but I think the characters really added to the story, and speaking of that, let's talk about the story. The story of this film, it's nothing entirely new, because it does have similar traits as some other films about characters wanting to achieve dreams, while his new friends are in a very rough spot in their careers or in a personal statement. But this character finds a way to make them realise that they can achieve more by being who they really are inside. We have seen this kind of story before, but it's always a great story because it helps the characters to realise that their uniqueness helps out and spreads amongst the world. And I think that the way that they told the story with Wonka and his friends is fantastic. There are lots of stakes in the story because the chocolate cartel are constantly watching their backs. These characters are going through personal issues, personal strengths, and relationships. And the movie has a fantastic message. The message of the movie being, it's not about the dreams or the creations that you achieve that just matters. They do, but it also matters to the people that you share it with. that is a very simplistic and that is a very fantastic, inspirational, endearing message that will definitely tug at your heartstrings if you are either in a social problem situation or you're in a dream day situation but it costs communication with others. But I think the way that this movie told this message was fantastic. Another major thing that adds to the movie is the musical numbers, because yes, Wonka is a musical, and there are a lot of musical numbers in the movie, and I thought that they were really, really good. I mean, I will definitely re-listen to all of these songs just to capture the lyrics a bit more, but after watching the movie a third time, I really could not help but really jam to these songs. I mean, Timothy Chalamet's singing, Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa songs, and the villain songs, just the inspirational songs, like all the songs really added to the movie and really gave the characters their upbeat personality and gave the movie its inspirational excitement whenever you want to get up and dance to these numbers. And the way that the ensembles definitely dance in the movie, I thought were well choreographed. The cinematography is also great in the movie as well, because one interesting fact is that this movie was actually directed by Paul King, the director of Paddington 1 and 2, and it definitely shows because he definitely has a unique style, whether it's still shots or if it's like moving out shots or wide shots, and quick timing on the editing that really makes the movie have its unique style, whether it's the inclusion of colours or the landscapes of like the town, because the landscapes just look marvellous. The drama and comedy were fantastic because the comedy was just absolutely hilarious. I could not stop laughing, whether it's the villains or the supporting characters that really stole the show. I could not stop laughing at their teaseful banter with each other or snappy comedy or quick dialogue, just absolutely hilarious. And again, the film has a lot of heart to it. The score is another factor of the movie because the musical numbers are really good, but the score as well is fantastic at making these scenes come off alive, because there are a few moments where the characters definitely act silly and the score definitely does fantastic, but when there has to be like a bit of a perilled moment or a tender moment, the orchestra definitely helps out with this. Because I won't give too much away, but there is a scene in the climax where it seems all hope is lost, and they play a very tender piece that honestly made me feel pretty sad inside and worried for the characters, and I thought it was well put together, and everything about the movie is well put together, because honestly, I can't really think of any problems with the movie at all. I think this is definitely one of those like movies I did not expect to love so much, because it has a lot of heart, humour, and a lot of passion to it. However, I will say that I do have a few tiny little nitpicks, and they really are just nitpicks. They don't detract from the movie. They're more just personal irritations that I had, just a little bit. One is that there are one or two moments in the movie where they do have a little bit of weird looking CGI effects. I mean, some of the CGI effects did not look fully finished. I mean, it only happened like one or two times, so it's not too distracting. And my other problem with my only other irritation with the movie that is a little bit of a bigger one is that there is one scene in this film that kind of turned me the wrong way. I'll try to not give too much away about this scene, but there is supposed to be a moment where things happen, like there's like a third act sad moment where it seems like everything is falling apart, but the way that people react in this moment kind of turns like, okay, I'm not fully comfortable with this, because it seems like Wonka's creations, like Wonka's goals are going downhill and people react in a very harsh way, but the way that they do it, I'm sorry, but if I was in a situation, I would be pretty annoyed, but I wouldn't go to the extreme that these characters go through. It just made me feel like, are these people even worth like properly like proving to in creation? Because the way that they react makes it kind of hard to forgive them, kind of. Again, it's a personal thing, and if you see the film, might know what I'm talking about, because again, no spoilers, but that's the one moment in the movie that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Overall, guys, despite its few little nitpicks, I cannot disagree with my true feelings about this delightful, tasteful treat. Wonka is one of my favourite movies that came out in 2023, which honestly doesn't really say much because I don't think I have seen a lot of films that came out in 2023, like that were released, but I did watch quite a few and I do have a little list of them. But Wonka is one of my favourites. It had a lot of passion, it had a lot of heart, very meaningful messages, characters to present it, a very convincing performance by Timothée Chalamet for doing a fantastic job making this Willy Wonka his own, and I cannot wait to see him in more roles after this film. The cinematography was great, the style was unique, the musical numbers were catchy, and the way that they ended definitely gave the feeling that, wow, this is definitely moving towards like the real Willy Wonka story that we all know from the original. So I think it takes place in the same style as the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, but it could just be its own thing. I'm not entirely sure. But I would definitely love to watch the movie again, and I would love to see these actors in more roles, and honestly, I cannot wait to see what Paul King makes next. I think he's directing Paddington 3, and I would definitely love to see that and see more of these movies and seeing these characters, because this film is without question a 5 out of 5. It is a masterpiece, and again, an utter delight. And if you're a fan of Roald Dahl, or Willy Wonka, or a fan of musical movies, or movies in general, this is definitely a film that people need to go see immediately. But anyway, guys, what do you guys think of Wonka? Do you love it, and you think it's a delightful movie like I do? Or do you think it's really dull and very misguided and it doesn't represent Willy Wonka that well? And I'll ask you a question, what film did you consider a delight? Let me know in the comment section below if you know what I mean by delight. Like, which movie do you think is so heartfelt that you find it delightful? Again, let me know in the comment section below. Again, thank you to Amelia and Freya for inviting me to come see this movie. I'm really glad that I went to go see a movie in the cinema with friends, and I would like to hang out at the cinema one time again with you. So, thank you Amelia and Freya, and thank you to all of my viewers for watching this review. I will try my best to get more reviews done. I've just been very busy being at a new college and all that stuff, but I would love to make more reviews. I'll say that I won't be getting a lot of reviews done in each month, but I will get as much as I could. So anyway, I'm Daniel, reviewing movies, TV shows, doing videos, and coming off as a very charismatic, top hat wearing critic or chocolate maker. Till then, peace out, man, in a world of pure imagination.